Y'all know my name. Come on.
See, first of all, I know these so-called players wouldn't tell you this. No white dress. We ain't getting no young girls, so you might as well do it. Yeah. Feeling you all the wild girl, and I must confess.
Come on.
Let's get married, baby. Let's get married.
Channel, and if you're new here, hi, my name is Janelle. Today I am back with a new makeup tutorial for you guys. Today I figured that I would film a bridal makeup look. I looked at like all my videos and realized I didn't have any bridal looks. Jumping into the months of June and July, there's normally a lot of like weddings and things like that, so I figured that I would share with you guys some of the techniques and the looks that I tend to do on a lot of my bridal clients, and just show you some tips to help with makeup that's going to be photographed a lot, that will look very airbrushed, and then also a look that's just going to be very smoky and done up without being too in your face or too harsh. So yeah, if I was getting married, this is pretty much the look that I would do on myself, so I figured I would share it with you guys. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe down below. Click that subscribe button, you know you want to. Without further ado, let's jump into this makeup tutorial. Alright, I'm starting off by prepping my skin with coconut oil just to hydrate it. Then I'm going in with my Too Faced Hangover Primer and using that to hydrate my skin. That way the skin's nice and glowy. Following that, I am priming my lids using my Lancome Aquatique eyeshadow base. You can use any eyeshadow base of your choice. This one I really like because it really does keep the shadow on all day and helps it blend nice. I'm going to set the base using my MAC. This is Blanc type, and it's just like a matte cream shade just to kind of set everything so that all the shadows after blend nice. I'm then going in with soft brown, which is a nice neutral brown, and I'm taking that with my Sigma E40 blending brush. Any big fluffy blending brush will work. I'm buffing this all throughout my crease, back and forth, kind of like blowing it out. You don't have to be too precise with this shade. This is just going to be the guideline to make sure that no other shadows go past this shadow. Following that, I'm taking the shade Saddle. This is a little bit deeper and it's a little bit more warm. I'm taking that with my MAC 217. It's a more dense blending brush. I'm just focusing this mainly on the outer edge and then blending it in, keeping it below the soft brown. And I like angling all of my shadows up at the end. And I just keep going back and intensifying it, and then once I'm done, I just blend it out with the original blending brush just to make sure the edges are all fused out. Next, I'm taking the shade I'm Not Into It by MAC. This is like a really pretty red brown color. I'm taking that with this like Morphe blending brush. It's really dense, and I'm just packing that starting at the last third of my lash line and just angling it up into my crease and kind of on my lid as well, keeping it below the Saddle shade. This is really going to intensify the look and just give it a nice smoky effect. Once I'm done placing that shade, I'm going back with the other blending brush I used to blend out Saddle, and I'm just softening up the edges. I'm now taking my favorite part. This is the Extra Dimension Shadow by MAC in the shade Sweet Heat. It's such a gorgeous champagne color, and it's just so beautiful and just so soft. And I'm packing that all over my lid using my MAC 242. You can see it's just so shimmery, and it just gives like a really pretty metallic finish to the eye. I'm doing 2 layers of it, that way it's nice and intense. This is one of my all-time favorite shadows. I'm then taking the shade Honey Lust by MAC, and I'm just putting that right over top of the Sweet Heat just to add a little dimension. This step is completely optional, but it just gives a little bit more of a shine to the look. I'm then blending out all of the edges with one of my blending brushes, and then I'm intensifying that outer edge, taking my MAC 217 and some more of the I'm Not Into It shade and just making sure it's nice and defined. For foundation, I'm using the L'Oreal True Match Lumi. This is one of my all-time favorite foundations, and I've tried so many high-end foundations, but this is one of my go-to looks when I want my skin to look very fresh and dewy. So basically, I'm first just doing stripes down my face with a flat foundation brush, and then I'm going to be pushing that into my skin using my MAC 170. This is one of my all-time favorite foundation brushes. It gives the most air brush finish ever. So I'm really pushing that into my skin, and I'm going to be working in thin layers. I'm going to layer this foundation a second time. So I'm just waiting a couple minutes, just waiting for it to get tacky before I go in with a stripe of a second layer of foundation. So I'm touching it. Once it feels a little bit tacky, I'm going to go in with a second layer, again striping it with a flat foundation brush and then pushing it into the skin using my MAC 170. By doing this, you get that coverage without it looking cakey, and then it just helps the skin photograph flawlessly and just look completely airbrushed. Then I'm taking my Tarte Shape Tape concealer, and I'm going to put some of this on the back of my hand just to kind of warm it up. Once it's on there, I'm going to dip my finger in it and use it to highlight under my eyes, just kind of striping it with the warmth of my finger so that way it really melts into the skin. I'm also putting it down my nose, chin, and forehead. Once it's on, I'm going to buff it into the skin using the MAC 170, but I'm going to push it upward because your pores face downward. So by pushing the concealer up, like upward, it just helps give more of an airbrush finish and help it not settle in the pores, which that area of my face happens to have more texture and larger pores. So that's why I'm really pushing it up, and then it just gives it a really pretty finish. I'm then taking my MAC, this is like one of the corrector concealer kits. You can use any dark concealer or foundation of your choice, but I'm using this to cream contour. So I'm putting it on my jawline, along my big forehead, and then also on my cheekbones and down my nose. And then I'm buffing that out with the same brush I used to buff out the foundation, my MAC 170. And I'm just really pushing this. I'm not swiping it, just pushing it into the skin and then just blending out the edges. I didn't want a harsh contour for this look, so that's why I went in with the lighter shades in the kit. Then to set the under eye concealer, I'm using my Airspun powder in translucent, and I took a very damp beauty sponge. I'm telling you, this sponge was pretty much soaked, and I'm using that to push the powder into my skin to set it. By having it wet, it just helps it melt into the skin a little bit better. And then to set the cream contour, I'm using my Hoola bronzer. This is one of my favorite bronzers ever, and I'm just using that to, again, set the areas that I put the cream contour. I'm then swooping away any excess powder with a very large fluffy brush. And then I'm going to, I randomly went back to the eyes and I just put some more of the Airspun transparent powder, and I use that to highlight under my brow bone and to just blend the other shadows together. For blush, I'm using MAC Melba. This is one of my all-time favorite blush shades. It just looks good with every look, and it's just such a pretty, feminine, soft color. For a highlight, I'm using the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in Soft and Gentle. And I'm putting a heavy amount because I will be buffing away at this with some powder at the end, and it'll fuse it all together. So I'm going to use a pretty heavy hand so that way it'll peek through the powder at the end. You'll get what I mean when I get to it. I'm also going to put this down my nose, on my chin and forehead. And then I'm taking my MAC Studio Fix foundation powder in NC42. I'm taking that same big fluffy blending brush and buffing again in circular motions upward over everything. This is going to create a filter over the skin and help it photograph really pretty and help everything to look just very nice and fused together. I do this a lot of my videos, or whenever I want my foundation to just look very airbrush and photograph nice, I will always do this step. I went ahead and filled in my brows off camera. Once I was done with that, I went back in with Soft and Gentle, and I used that as my brow bone highlight. And then I also put a little bit on my tear duct area, but it wasn't intense enough, so I ended up going in with MAC Nylon and used that at the very tip of my tear duct just to give it a nice, intense, bright-eyed look. took my MAC Kohl pencil in Costa Riche. This is like the most gorgeous red brown shade. I'm lining that along my lower lash line. And then I'm going to be smoking that out with a pencil brush. Just really smoking out that lower lash line to just give the eyes a really smoky but not too harsh of a look. And then I'm doing the same thing on my top lash line. Just kind of lightly lining it, and then I'm smoking it out with the pencil brush. I'm kind of winging it out at the end. This will help kind of lift the eye without having to use like a harsh black liner, so to keep it very nice, soft, and smoky. I'm then going to be popping on my Ardell Wispies off camera. Actually, I ended up doing these on camera for the first time. But first I prepped my lashes with some mascara. And the reason that I went with these lashes is because they're very full, they're very wispy, they photograph nice, but they're not too dramatic. They give you that volume without like taking over the entire makeup look and just being like, hey, I'm wearing false lashes. For lips, I went in with my favorite MAC lip pencil in... is it Staunchly Stylish? It's like a pretty nude. And then I went in with MAC Twig lipstick. It's like a gorgeous dusty rose, kind of like mauve-y pink. And then over top of that, I went in with the shade Faux, which is pretty much a lighter version of Twig, just to kind of lighten it up. And I wanted some color on the lips, but I wanted it kind of more neutral. And there you have it. This is the completed look. If you all enjoyed, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more videos. I love you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!